Hello, and welcome to the Brubacher and Beyond podcast, where we are shaping the world we live in so more people can find the construction industry uncommonly refreshing. Today's episode was not supposed to be an episode, but we thought there was so much value in it that we should publish this out to our community so you can listen to it. And if you want to start your own podcast, remember, please reach out, email me, text me. I'd like to help and support our community. So this podcast was for the Marcoms Business Development Group. This is a group of business development professionals that meet on a monthly basis to talk about best practices and if there's anything that they can collaborate together on. Elaine from M. Davis and Sons, Inc. is the host. Again, this is the Marcoms Group. It's a business development group that helps and support each other. They bounce ideas off each other. It's a networking, and also if there's any projects maybe to collaborate together on. Elaine hosted this meeting at her company's headquarters, M. Davis and Sons, Inc. They are a construction company in Chester County, Pennsylvania. They specialize in industrial construction, and they're fifth generation. In this episode, AJ is with me from Brubacher, and we started talking about how to launch a podcast, the things that we've learned in the past, and if there's any ideas amongst the group, and really how to get the platform off the ground. I hope you find this podcast interesting, and if you do have any questions or if you wanted to know more information, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, email, send me a text message. This is how we started. So we brought a recorder. It's got two microphones here, and if you really wanted to just put it on the desk and record, you couldn't tell the difference between that recording and this recording unless you're like a tech nerd. If that makes any sense. The other thing that we did was we got these microphones to clip on for people out in the field. So we did a couple equipment demos, and when we purchased new equipment, we went out into the field, had the sales rep with us. He told us about the features and benefits, and we could record it. And the thought was for that too is we could do that for our team members. Let's record it, how to use the piece of equipment in the field. Now we got it. So we've evolved from just starting to do internal with Keith Brubacher, Brad Kober, and really talk about safety and our core values. So if someone ever in the company needs to go, what's our core values or why are they important, they can listen to episode 2, if that makes sense. But really why I thought it was important is our guys and ladies, they spend about an hour a day in their vehicles driving back and forth to a job site. Mm-hmm. And we don't want them watching YouTube, but we want to keep them connected, right? So how can we make something that keeps them connected in what Brubacher is doing, because they always want to know why, so we can give them the why sometimes, but also can we help the industry rise the tide to lift all boats? My thought in that is if we can teach somebody who's maybe a smaller contractor going through a situation, like one episode we had our CFO on and we talked about a large equipment purchase, how to justify a large equipment purchase, and if it doesn't justify, what's the next step? You can rent equipment, you can buy equipment, you can do different leases, but if someone doesn't know that, then they can hopefully listen to that and think about making a large purchase. So that's the purpose, is for keeping our employees connected and offering insight to external audiences. I would say this, here's the impact, all right? And a lot of our accountants, they'll say that, what's the ROI, Chris? How can I justify this? Like, what's the return, right? And I go, what's the ROI of your mother? And that's when they get them all riled up, right? Because everybody's got different moms, right? Everybody's got different moms.
You get anyone riled, Chris.
But I say this, but this is when I do have some wins, right? Like when one of our board members goes, I listened to that podcast and I thought that was a great point. That's a good thing. A banker says, oh, I've been listening to your podcast. So it's just the awareness of the industry and getting it out to everybody. But I would say this is, I think, the best thing that can come out of a podcast. Hopefully somebody has an idea. One, you would be my guest on a podcast because I always need guests. Two, maybe you start your own and grow it from there, or you tell somebody about it. That's all. We want to grow the numbers as large as we can grow it. And the other thing, though, it opens doors to people in a different avenue. Because if you've been trying to get a hold of a CFO and say, we would like to do business, but why don't you come on my podcast? It's easier to invite them on a podcast to open the door than to let's set up a meeting and have a sit down and talk business. No, let's talk business later. Let's work on the relationship and build the relationship, and then we can talk business. We don't have any sponsors yet. We don't get paid for this. I can tell you that this is under $1,000 investment. So if everybody's like, oh, it's going to take so much, it doesn't take that much money. If you wanted to buy this, it's a couple $100 and you can get going. Everything here has been purchased on Amazon. I went and listened to videos. I listened to other people.
I want to see everybody going in construction.
You can buy
Lights up and ready to go.
Yeah, so
Yes, we have the Women in Construction Committee down at ABC Delaware. So there you go.
I will say, it
I
looks,
wasn't
it looks
about that.
impressive, like, it looks like it's more than $1,000.
yeah,
Not even.
Yeah. I mean,
think so.
we're on a pretty much budget, but the most expensive things, the mics. I don't hear the difference between a $200 mic and a $1,200 mic. The first starter kit that we got, we would just take the mics and then plug it into here, and then take the phones and plug them out to there. That was our base that we used everything. And then as we got more guests, a little bit more budget. That's when we got the mixing board, and that really helps if you have someone that's softer spoken. You can mix that volume to get a level amount of vocals coming out.
What's nice is the editing software when you go into post-production, and this is the stuff I've done thousands and thousands of times. So you have different voices. Somebody has a softer voice, somebody has a higher one. And I did this with morning shows all throughout the years. But the program is nice because it'll normalize that. You can do processing, you can alter it however you want. And if you want to add flair, you can find sound effects libraries, bed libraries for your intros and outros, however you want it. You can basically customize it any way you want. And it's actually funny, like, I never mentioned this story, like how I found Brubacher was because of the podcast. My question was, they have a podcast? And that's how I got curious. So
That's very cool.
The vision behind the Brubacher and Beyond, again, is connecting with potential clients, internal team members. Our goals is to increase exposure, deepening the relationships with customers. So we did a podcast, that was our last podcast, with the president of Aqua, Mark Luca. I don't know about anybody else. I've tried to get a meeting with Mark one-on-one. I was just never at that level, right? But I got Mark for 2 hours to record a podcast, and we edited it down for maybe like an hour. So now you got that connection, and you can leverage their contacts too. And we could talk a little bit about this. Is once we record the podcast through the editing stages and then send it out to your social platforms, you need as many likes, follows, reposts as possible to gain your network as large as possible. You want to throw the biggest net you can throw out into the ocean to catch stuff first. Through people like that, Mark has how many connections? There's a percentage that are going to come and listen to that.
Absolutely.
So one thing though that I will say is some people do get, like the CFOs get, oh, how many people listen? I can't really tell you exactly. The only thing I can tell you is on our platform that we use is called Buzzsprout. And this is some things, if you are thinking about this was the hardest part, is finding the platform that is going to store, like that's your home base. That's going to store all your material inside. That's where all your episodes go. That's where you download. Once you have that platform, and you got to pay for that, and it's not much money. It's like $12 a month if you get so many hours and you can upgrade. But here's the hard part about the platforms. So when you first post your first one, you're only going to be able to unlock so many tools. As your numbers grow, you're able to unlock more tools. And what I mean by that is now we can go to Apple. We can post on Apple. We can post on iHeartRadio. We can post on
We got Spotify.
So it opens up. So once you start, you don't get to use all the tools. If that makes sense. You have to build your audience, and then it lets you use, and then it helps you grow faster.
Because I don't understand,
Yes.
when you first started, how could anyone listen to you?
I sent text messages out to people.
With a link or
Yep. Yeah, so I would
to Buzzsprout? Or?
from Buzzsprout, you sign up on Buzzsprout. It's a paid service. We elected to use Spotify as the app. So Spotify is here, and there's all kinds of stuff, and we're on Spotify now. And then what I would do is get the Brubacher and Beyond episodes. They're all here. I just start sending them.
But you were able to get to Spotify?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spotify is like the lowest.
Okay.
It lets you in. It lets you do
Easy
stuff.
entry.
And then from here, you can put it on all your socials, but mine's just messaging.
Chris, can you, like, let's say when you first started and you were on Spotify, can you send a link to, say, LinkedIn?
Yes, I do.
And then, so I would just need Spotify in order to, if I didn't have Spotify,
No,
could I
so
still pull it
here's
up?
the weird thing. Once I send it to LinkedIn, and this is where the numbers get skewed, I send it to LinkedIn. I post it on my account on LinkedIn. You can go onto my account on LinkedIn and say it, the last one. You listen to it, it doesn't tell Spotify. So that's where the numbers get skewed. So I know that I had 1,925 listeners on LinkedIn. It only probably counts as one to Spotify.
I gotcha.
It's one link. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So really, when I talk to the CFOs, I go, "Listen, we got to have this conversation. How many text messages did I send out? I don't know. How many people saw me on LinkedIn? I can tell you, and I can tell you the demographics. I can tell you Spotify. I can tell you. So, do you take all that and add them up together? That's what I do for the CFO. But then for me, I'm probably like it's probably half, maybe something around there.
Because there's some overlap.
There's lots of overlap, yeah. And I'm hoping that I send it to you, and then you repost it, and then your person reposts it, and that person reposts it, and then I can't follow the train that far down the track. But
Can you put it on other platforms as well? Facebook, Instagram?
yes, that's what we do. Yes.
So from the Spotify, well, actually from the platform it's on.
Yeah, so from Spotify, that's where I used to handle all this stuff. That's AJ's realm now.
That'll be my realm.
Once it is recorded and edited, AJ is responsible for getting it out into the
I'm the one.
market.
That's what I do.
So we'll go through Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube,
all the stuff.
Will you post everything on all of your platforms, or will it be dependent on subject?
We just post everything.
Everything.
Everything
Everything.
right now.
Everything.
Yeah.
All of our
If you watch it,
platforms.
you watch it.
The one thing that we're gonna start to do is teasers. We've never done them before. We did it on this one,
This is
where
our
it's like a
first one.
30-second clip that we think is the highest level talking point, and that'll be thrown out there before it goes live.
You mentioned something that really interests me. So you showed us those little mics, and you talked about being out to demonstrate or do podcasts so people can do it educational for your people. How do you get them to listen? I love that idea. I love, they're driving to work, they're engaged. So I don't know about you, but some of the people that work for us might not be that apt to listen to it.
Well, besides social media, we also do that in our internal communications. We do a weekly newsletter. We also do a quarterly newsletter. So we have the podcast. When we have a new episode or a teaser for it, we have it featured front and center in a part of
Gotcha.
the weekly and the quarterly.
Yeah. So weekly communications. The guys are reading the jobs that we've won, awarded.
That's great.
Whatever you want to do. What's the safety topic of the week? What's the tailgate topic of the week? And it'll be in there. That goes through.
Right now, it goes through Sarah. It is going to be transitioned.
No, but
over to
what's the
constant contact?
constant contact?
Yeah. So that's what you send to your employees for constant contact.
Yes.
Weekly communication goes through constant contact. Quarterly communication to customers and stuff. That's
Not sure about that one yet.
once a quarter or something like that.
I'm gonna find out.
the podcast?
We are 2 podcasts a month right now. Is our
Wow.
It's the
goal right now.
Your goal is 2.
The goal is going to be 2, and the
Yeah.
goal is going to have, like, if we record podcasts, we're going to try and get as many, like, in the tank, like, maybe have, like, one dedicated day to do, like, 2 podcasts, or another one to do 2,
Right.
and just have a whole bunch, so that way,
Line up your interviews.
we can line it up, I can edit as needed, and then we can get all the topics and everything ready to go, so that via social media and internal, we can just run it.
So say if we do have a couple employees that read, this is the weekly communication that they get through their email, and this is just one for the Brubacher and Beyond podcast, they can just hit the links, the Buzzsprout, Spotify, podcast, YouTube, and Index, and they can listen to it then, so they can be driving and then listen to it. We did get a camera. That's our next, hopefully our next evolution is video.
The new trend now, and they're doing this in the radio industry, is video podcasting. iHeartMedia is actually experimenting with this. Well, other companies were experimenting with it right now. iHeartMedia was a little bit reluctant to do that, even though it has gotten a lot of positive feedback. So that is one of the avenues that we're going to be doing to set up a background. So we have some areas that have a really cool background. So we get up and get the table, get the equipment, and they have the cameras. So two people talking to each other rather than just the logo and the audio.
Because everyone wants to consume media differently. Like, I like podcasts because I don't have to look at it. And sometimes if I see something and I have a visual of it in my mind, it kind of ruins it when I see it. It's almost like when a book becomes a movie.
No, I totally get it. But your option here is you can do whatever you want. I like it.
So this is just some of the stuff. These are all the podcast. Now, I'm in Buzzsprout right now. Buzzsprout is a platform that holds all of our information. The time of the podcast, how many people went to. You can get a lot of information. So if someone wants to know who did it go to, what kind of people, if you want to monetize, you can. You got to be over like 1,000 followers or 1,500 followers before you can start to monetize.
It depends on the platform, but yeah.
Yeah.
People better be like, sure, pay me.
Yeah, unless you're the Kelseys, I guess you get paid $10 million a year.
And they got contracts too.
Here's a good cheat too. We're talking about ChatGPT. Once you get your episode recorded and edited, take the whole version, put it in ChatGPT, and then ask it for a description, a summary, and and give me 10 topics, and it'll give it to you. Boom, boom, boom. We used to spend hours going back and forth saying, "What should we do?" Yeah, what should we? No, just do it.
I'd be like, I am a concrete company in Delaware Valley, and I need podcasts.
Now, the one thing I will give you though, when you get those scripts, it's also a good idea to kind of like go in there and edit it to make it your own. Sure. Only because I know it's funny, we experimented this with different scripts, and it's like, this sounds way too much like AI.
Yes.
When you try and humanize. I mean, even if you put on ChatGPT, and I've experimented with this, like humanize it a little bit more.
Yes.
It's just not.
There's too many like adjectives, and there's like words that people say in conversation.
Yeah. But it'll give you it'll help you. I mean, we used to spend so much time just like sitting around and be like, what's the name of this podcast? What you got any ideas? What can we call it? What? And this way you got 10 and you can.
Once you have the script, or once you're done, right? You have a podcast that's recorded. You've got your audio file. You've got a transcription of it. Are you feeding that somewhere else, like that transcription, all that content? Are you using that content somewhere else, like on your website?
On our website, there is a landing page for the podcast, so you can listen through it.
I was there today.
Through that too.
I listened to your
Do you
latest
guys put the
episode.
transcript on that landing page?
The written transcript? No, I don't think so.
Because from an SEO standpoint,
We should.
We
That's a
can,
good
yeah.
idea.
even if it's just
Yeah.
like a top down.
Put it down.
Oh,
You've got all that.
because
You got all that. Oh
That, like, you
yeah.
can hide and unhide.
Yes.
But from an SEO standpoint,
I see.
all you gotta do is copy and paste it.
Copy and paste it. Yeah. So
Because you've done all the work, and because you're updating that every other week or whenever you publish an episode.
yeah.
It's like new.
It's new
fresh.
stuff, and it's making that. Yeah, I don't understand how that new algorithm's working. It'll blow. I mean, it's not enough time in my day.
I tell people, I'm like, just think of like Hungry Hippos.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
It's a- Feed it. Yeah, you want to
You
feed.
just have to feed it more than everybody else.
Yes.
See, the
feed.
SEO part is the part that's new to me.
Yes.
So that's the part that I'm learning because I never did anything with SEO.
Yeah.
So that's actually
Well, like the nice
very
part about it is
useful.
that I'm assuming once you have a topic, the words that you're saying are often enough where that you would hit those like
Mm-hmm.
SEO KPIs of like you need to say your topic at least 5 times within the first 2
Certain.
paragraphs or whatever.
Yeah. So what we do is we have a scripted introduction. We have music, like it's a bulldozer track. So that stuff stays. Our president is very structured, but I kind of try to stay within the guide rails more than the steps. But
forgiveness later.
Yes, it's easier. Yes. But there are some things that are hard and fast. We have topics that are hard and fast that we won't talk about, or have those type of people. You guys can think of that. Write your rules down when you want to do it or don't do it. But I've done senators, bankers, safety people. I mean, you name it. I think it's we're just expanding as far as we can get out on that. I will say creating the topics for episodes and booking the people. People's schedules change all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, we're scheduled and we do a follow-up and something came up. So you just got to be flexible.
Yeah.
We did very well in 2024. We got ahead of our dumps where we had 6 in the queue ready to be published. And so if something changed, we weren't panicking. I will say right now, we're panicking because we don't have enough in the backlog to keep up with our 2 posts a month if something happens to us and we get too busy next month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So try to build your backlog as long as possible. I'd say the problem with that, though, is like in our last episode was Happy New Year. Like, you heard that. I was like, oh.
I thought it, but I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. You have to.
Yeah.
Nobody's out there. I mean, you tried to do the
I feel
best
like
job you
unless you're the
can.
Kelsey brothers, everyone assumes you're not recording a podcast of you.
Yeah.
Us or mine.
Or someone, I mean, you do get haters. They're like, that's horrible. I will never listen to you again. I'm like, hey.
You really have?
Oh, I get people like, this was a waste of my time. But I was like, well,
It's not for them.
If I had a dime for every time
Yeah.
I heard that,
yeah, it's okay. I'm like, listen, it's all right. I'm just trying to help. Like,
it's like, thanks for
I
listening.
thought the
This isn't an airport.
The guest on
Yeah.
the
People
latest
don't need to know
episode was actually, he was very interesting to listen to because we're in the PFAS market on our fabrication side
Yeah.
of the business. So
I'm jealous. You know how much money you guys got coming in right now?
I can't really speak to that. But it's a very timely topic.
Yes.
It was a very interesting guest that you had on
Yes.
today, or on not today, but that you have on the
Yeah.
podcast. It was worth listening to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he was good.
That's a whole nother. Does everybody understand the PFASs that are going on?
I don't. I'll just put it out there.
All right, so PFASs are forever chemicals.
Everything that's in our plastic.
So the new
Surface clothing.
new regulations for drinking water that the utilities have to follow is 4 parts per trillion. So 4 seconds to 3,800 years is the time frame. If you test positive from now until 38,000 years, you're a bad person and your water is not good and you're going to get fined and all this stuff. They're trying to get this chemical out of the water. Or it's 1 drop of water to 16 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So if you have 4 droplets of water in, 64, you're no good. You fail. That's how tight the specification is. So in our world, all these utility companies have to stop doing everything that they're doing and put these new systems in. And it's totally changed all their budgets, and they knew it was coming, but it was like, now it's real. And what they thought was going to cost, I'm going to say $5 to $8 million per well, is costing $13 to $20 million per well. And so now their budgets are just gone. And like it or don't like it, it's the law, and that's what they have to follow. So, anyway.
Was this your aqua?
Yeah, that was some of the topics. But PFAS is a huge topic, and not that many people know about it.
Well, they had a whole movie about it,
Yeah.
right? You saw the movie?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wait, what movie was
I can't remember the name of it now. But I'll send a link after that.
All right, send a link.
Sorry.
She's very good.
But anyway, that's what's happening in our world. But just think about it, all these utility companies,
I did see that.
the price of water is gonna get very expensive here in a short amount of time, so just be ready.
But people don't realize that kind of like how this stuff is in all of these services.
It's everywhere.
You want Scotch garden carpet?
Yeah.
You want,
Yeah.
stain resistant on your couches? This is what 3M was using.
Yeah.
Is using. DuPont, like huge. Just.
Well, the non-stick pans.
Right, all the Teflon.
The Teflon, it all has all that stuff on it, so, anyway.
In my eggs every
Teflon
morning.
pan, but they're walking around with, Scotch garden carpet, so, it's there.
Poison, literally.
It's
Literally.
It's already in your head.
But when we started, we were just trying to just do as many podcasts as possible. So it was once a month and every 2 months, and then it was just, we found that our numbers did increase when we had a steady diet of posting on the same particular cadence. It actually helped with our numbers. We talked about the equipment. Again, all this was purchased on Amazon, looking at other YouTubes or using AI in the Amazon search for guided me, trial and error.
What editing software? Can I ask what editing software you use?
So this editing is Audacity. This is
Audacity is a free version, and I'll just tell you, as a radio nerd and somebody who's more of a purist, it's not all that great. I will tell you right now, if you want optimal editing, Adobe Audition is what you need to get. Now, Audition will do everything.
So-
It's very easy to use. The learning curve's good, and everything's done nice.
Here's the other thing, and because we have AJ now, before AJ, I used to subcontract this out.
Fair.
$75, $100. I'd send it to Ethan. Ethan would edit it and send it back to me. Done. So
we might be able to get Ethan's phone number.
I'll give you Ethan's phone number. We send it to Ethan, but that does take some.
Everyone needs a die.
Yeah.
Sitting in a dorm up.
Oh, God.
Even better.
I mean, I was going to say even better.
Yes,
Have a little side hustle
Ethan.
going on.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't know, but it's perfect.
But Chris, didn't you share with me, and I hope that I'm not disclosing anything I shouldn't, this all was sort of the brainchild of your daughters. Or you were talking about, don't they have a podcast now?
No, so that we did try to. So yes,
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
So
It was a very cute story. I remember.
I dumped all this stuff during Christmas break on our dining room table, and my wife was kind of upset, and I'm like, well, girls, let's start reading
That's
too.
what it is, yeah.
So my two
Your plan.
youngest and their friends were twins. They wanted to do a podcast. I said, it's that easy, just hit record. And they just started talking for an hour and a half.
But weren't they getting followers and it became a thing?
They did not. They never.
Oh,
We
I
never
thought you
posted
did.
it. No, we never did.
Okay.
Because I wanted them to do something. I'm like, I'm not going to do everything, but I did put that picture on LinkedIn
that's
and
right.
said it was so and it got it got hundreds of
On LinkedIn.
LinkedIn impressions.
Oh, it was so fun.
I think that's
Yeah.
how it started because you were,
wow.
I think you and I were
That's how
discussing
we're
that.
here, is your on LinkedIn.
Power of social media.
See what LinkedIn.
Yes.
I like the idea that you're getting people that would not open doors for you otherwise. I'm curious how you go about actually closing the deal to actually have them sit down and do a podcast with you.
So when we get a guest or we identify a guest, we'll send them out. We're doing this. And then we'll say, hey, these are dates that we have available that work for you, or send us 3 dates that work for you, and then we'll try to get it through there. What we want to start doing is doing 2 or 3 episodes in one sitting in one day if we can.
Absolutely.
So, because right now it takes some time, and it's a kind of a distraction. I would say this is kind of like when you're driving your sports car. The more you drive it, the more comfortable you feel, the easier it is. Once you get done doing a podcast, you want to do another one. There's not you just in a rhythm, if that makes sense.
You do it in your office or you go to their office, or it just depends.
So we did our first one. We actually went to a recording studio and did it.
Oh.
And then the problem with that was getting people to the recording studio.
Right. Yeah.
That was the pinch point. And then we started doing them in-house. The problem with in-house, that's why we have I put this outside the door. Lisa, you've been to our
I have.
conference. I'll put that out there. I'll put papers all over the place because you do hear people walking. You do hear people knocking, and that the mic picks that up. I would say this too. I didn't even think about this putting on here. You have to have rules for your guests, like no crinkling, no tapping your feet, no pulling your pens in and out.
I did a podcast and I had this cup, and when it gets empty, the straw hits the cup.
Yeah.
And they like stopped me in the middle of it, and they were like, "So can you put your water in a different cup?" Because every time I would pick it up to drink, after
Things you don't think about.
Yeah. So.
Picked up the straw hitting the cup.
And to your point, how do you do that nicely? Hey, these are the things that we found out. These are just some house rules that we have. No tapping. The other thing to it, this is not live. So if there is in the middle, say edit, or I lost my train of thought and let me restate my statement. That happens a lot. Like you'd be thinking, you'd be like, "Oh, I can't say that." Stop that, Ethan. Ethan, cut it. Ethan, start it. Ethan, go. Like you can do that when you're recording. So you can.
We used to do with our old longer podcast. We used to do like if you messed up, you would clap really loud because there was a sound spike. It would sound spike on the.
That's a good one.
That's what we did.
So like if you were like stumbling every word, you're like, "Can we erase that?" You would just clap. And that way, like, because the podcast would end up being an hour long, so you're looking at it and you're like, where the hell am I supposed to cut? But you'd see these, like, sound bites where you needed to go back. So you weren't, like, re-listening to 30 minutes of a podcast to try and find the one spot.
So another easy way to do it is going take 3 in 3, 2, 1, and it'll go 3, 2, 1, and then you can go right from there.
Yeah, like, you give yourself visual markers.
Yep.
In posts, so you don't have to like. Re-listening to it takes a lot of time.
It just makes it so much easier. Or you could also tell the audio where they go like the because it's like just a straight wave right there.
So AJ, do you do all of the editing now?
AJ has not edited anything yet.
But
the next
eventually
one
I will.
Will be his rodeo.
Ethan did this last episode.
Ethan did them all, yeah. Ethan's done them all from.
Ethan is, but
Yeah.
it sounded pretty good.
Pretty good.
Honestly.
Yeah. We talked about finding guests and topics. That's something hard. You just gotta kind of keep it out there. It does take, if you want like a half an hour of edited version, you're gonna need a good 45 minutes to an hour of recording to get that much quantity. If you think you're only gonna record for 20 minutes, you're only gonna get 10 minutes at max. We talked about the outsourcing, Ethan again, Buzzsprout, distribution platforms. The new one that just opened up to us was iHeartRadio. We hit a certain thing.
Yeah.
So we're on iHeartRadio now. What's that?
So we use Buzzsprout.
Okay.
And I don't know that we're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
How long have you had your podcast for?
So we had one 3 or 4 years ago. I hated hosting it because it was just asking people about marketing, and I got really bored because I was like, I don't want to talk to marketing people about marketing. It just sounds awful. I don't want to talk about it. So we redid our podcast. We started, I guess, last summer, so almost a year now. Even though we are a marketing company, our podcast is called Yes Genius. So we find people who have a genius idea, and we ask. So our unofficial tagline is "We come from a place of yes," which is a very dangerous place to be as a marketing company. So Yes Genius kind of talks to people who have done genius things, and we find the moment that they said yes to something that became this genius idea. So it's more just, we use it as a working avenue of like, oh, do you want to come be on our podcast? Just to get people to talk about themselves. Because when we set up our podcast, the thing I said was, what are things people want to talk about? And I was like, themselves. And what do people want to hear from people they don't know? It was like an interesting story. Because marketing is storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. I asked about getting people where you do it because I was thinking of people that I would happily give to you if I don't do this. But I could see it being an issue, them coming to you. You know, where
I'd go to them.
You would go to them.
That's why we're doing this.
Set that up and do all this.
So that's how this got. That me go to them. I went down to the Dirt World Summit in Texas, and I did 2 interviews in like the cafeteria area, and it sounded pretty good.
Yeah, with that.
I mean, you heard a little bit of background noise. We're like, hey, we're in San Antonio, Texas, and we're at the Dirt World Summit, and then we actually got the people at the Dirt World Summit to repost. and liked it. And
That's
then you had
exactly.
Aaron Witt do it, and he's got 15 million followers. And then it really helps the longer you can get that net out. But yeah, you can be, and some people had like big, I didn't have this big setup, but you can, and people do it. So I think it's something, I would say like the creative design, like we came up with the Brubacher and Beyond logo. We use a marketing company called Grit. They did the artwork for us, but I'm sure you can now put it on ChatGPT and figure out if you want to do low budget. Or you.
Canva. Just use Canva.
Canva.
Don't use
I don't
ChatGPT.
know.
Just plug something into Canva.
But what's the other one?
No, honestly, for art, Canva would probably be your best bet.
Oh, it was that cool one where you could put it in. You say, like, I want 2 excavators. We just learned.
I have it linked, but honestly,
I forget. But anyway.
Yeah.
How do you measure the success? Again, I think just doing it and some people saying they like it or don't like it, or just trying to keep it going, talking interesting topics, doing something different, leveraging your LinkedIn to maximize the visibility. There are people that have lots of followers that will contact you and say, hey, I'll be on your podcast for an amount. We never did that.
You guys got me emails, people saying they want to be on your podcast, but it's very clear that they have not listened to your podcast.
Yeah.
No.
Because I've gotten a couple that are like, I'm interested in this one.
We have a list of potential people for you, and
There'll be ones where people will be like, I'm interested in being a podcast guest. I see that, because they'll read like the Epic marketing bio and they'll think it's a marketing podcast. But then if you read like the Yes Genius bio, like we had somebody reach out, we're like, we have a really great yes story, we'd love to talk about it, we're a women-owned business, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, they might not be bad guests. But then like 2 weeks later, we got another email that was like, I'm the CEO of my company, I founded it, and I think that I could bring you a lot of listeners. And I was like, nothing in this email tells me that you have even remotely know what this podcast is about.
yeah. So that's pretty much all I prepared for
That's awesome.
the list of questions or the list of topics that I thought would help you. But
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that did want to come Tuesday. Couldn't
Yeah,
come
I know,
today,
I'm sorry.
Couldn't make the switch, but you know what? I'm actually recording on voice memo, so I'll have a file to transcribe and clean up and put it through ChatGPT or Claude and let them clean it up a little bit more, format it, and give it to you guys to take a quick look over before anything goes out to the group. But honestly, I mean, this is such awesome information.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, just pretty fearless to be like, you know what, I'm just going to buy some equipment and we're just jumping on it.
Yeah. I
that's
think
the
it's
way I
awesome.
am.
That's the way Chris is.
That's the way.
And again,
Yeah.
as Chris mentioned, it doesn't really take that much. You can do basic equipment. I mean, there was another piece that you had that was a more basic mixer that you had before you got this one, and it'll work just fine. I mean, you don't have to have like the $700 radio quality RE20 mics, or you don't need like a $4,000 Comrex to go out on the scene. Like when I listened to that podcast, one of the first ones I listened to was Dirt World, and it was like, you're on location, and just the ambiance is more than enough to give you that sense, like, oh, it makes you feel like you're actually there with them.
Can't wait to hear your podcast.
Chris, do you ever send your guests
Oh,
a description of what you're discussing beforehand?
yes. I mean, we have an out, so I never want to have like specific topics like you're reading. We'll come up with questions that or topics that we will talk about. So there will be like an agenda to keep people on the rails.
Yeah.
If we come down the street and we want to make a left-hand turn, we can do that. But here, let's just try to stay on the guide rails, stay on the road. This is the path. So yes, we do have an agenda. The other thing we started doing was like thank you bags. So think about that. You know, we say thank you, give them some treats from local markets around us, some Brubacher swag. That stuff has evolved, you know, too, when we started.
That's awesome.
So now we have like a list of things that you should do that is have a checklist. Make sure, like before you take off on the airplane, at the day before, 2 days before, you make sure you have your guests, that they have the topics, they're comfortable with the topics, and just kind of go from there.
Have you had someone though that went off the rails? But you had to be like, hey Ethan, this is what you're cutting out, or
Not too far, but yes, there have been some times where people are like, "Oh, you know what? I divulged too much information. Take it back a little bit," and we will edit that out. We also send the edited version to our guests first for them to approve it, and once we get their approval, then we can put it in the queue. So
That's awesome.
it's not touched. Or they have an availability to change or edit. We did have a customer in the past that was going through an acquisition, and they said something, and we're like, well, how are we going to edit that out or something? And
That changes
we're going to
the
wait.
whole
We're going to
segment.
wait
To
till
make
it
sure
goes
once
up.
it goes
Yeah. We're going to wait for that to go through, and then we'll release it and go from there. So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. That's the other thing with the programming. You can put it on, but here's my thought on this. God forever, something happens, and you're posting about the best day of your life, and we have like a world tragedy. That's why I don't like doing that. But I like kind of getting it ready in the queue so you can post it. But I don't do auto schedule. No.
One thing that I
Don't
learned
do
from
that.
Never ever.
Queen Nancy
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Well, you guys don't use Sprout, but so Sprout has like Sprout Social has I have it because we have so many accounts in Sprout that there is a massive pause button in like the admin settings that like sends every single post in our Sprout account to like drafts. Like if something were to happen, we'd use it one time, but it was terrifying because Ed was like, "Am I really pushing?" Because I was like, "I'll just manually go through," and Nancy was like, "That would take you hours. You have to hit the button." I was like, "What if it does something wrong?"
We talked about this before. We was talking about the social media day. I believe that was covered. It's a really big deal. Yeah.
There's a world tragedy. You need to.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you post 300? Is that just for your company or
No,
for
so
all?
we have like 30 some companies. that we have
Oh,
social
okay.
with. And as part of their contract with us, we
Yes.
have a massive agency level like Sprout Social account.
Yes.
So like I because I'm on all the accounts can switch between all of them, kind of like tabs in your internet. But because I have everyone that I have access to, I in my settings have there's a literal
Pause.
button. In my settings there's a button that's like pause all content. The only thing that scares me about it is that instead of just putting it into drafts and saving it on the day, it puts everything into draft. Everything. So if I've scheduled out months worth of content, it puts it all in drafts and takes the dates off it.
It's like a kill switch.
It is. It's a kill switch, which means that then I have to go back in.
Oh, yeah.
So like people think it sounds redundant. Like we have 2 content calendars. So like I have a Google Sheet content calendar and the Sprout Social one because if God forbid I have to hit that switch, at least I have something to reference like where all of the like M. Davis Facebook posts are supposed to go.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that
I mean,
makes
it's good to
sense.
have the backup.
Yes.
I agree with that.
But yeah, it is one of those things where
There you go. There's the secret hot tip of the day.
Thank you for listening to the Brubacher podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our podcast so you can listen to new episodes every month. Share it with your friends in the industry and those who might like to learn more about the construction industry. Feel free to check us out on our website at www.brubacher.net. We hope you found the discussion insightful and we look forward to the next time.